Hello, everybody. Welcome to my Jeff Ed. I'll give everybody a chance to swap in and get us all excited and happy. Take your time, swap in, let me know, leave a comment, give me a little bit of a hello here. I'd love to know everybody that's involved in getting stuck in. The Ed I'm going to present to you today is going to be the value of investing in home equipment, a wide variety of things. So a nice little bit of informative information for everybody. Something that I think we can all benefit on a little bit and really take a bit of knowledge here. So as I say, get stuck in, swap in, let us know that you're here. So I'm trying to bring up the comments. So if you see me looking away, it's always difficult. I'm not a tech-savvy chap, so please bear with me as I try and get this already. But don't hesitate, get stuck in, leave some messages, let us know that you're there. So when I do log in, and I do eventually pick up the comments, we can see how everything's going. A couple of things just to mention while we're getting everybody in here. I hope you are all excited. We have had some incredible news about our courses that have just released. Education is an incredibly important aspect of this industry, and I think everybody individually needs to have their knowledge increased. So we have brought to the party a couple of courses that people can get involved in to increase their knowledge and just a greater understanding of certain areas. There are no exams, there are no tests. It's not that kind of course, so please don't panic. It's literally just, as I say, a nice opportunity for people to get a little bit more knowledge for themselves. So we've got a mental strength course with Coach Seri. I think everybody's familiar with her. She's absolutely incredible. So as much as she does for strength for the body, she'll do for the mind as well. We've got the more calm, less stress with Coach Kathleen. I think everybody this day and age could do with a little bit more of that. We've got the body kindness with Coach Liz. I think everybody as well, sometimes we give our body a little bit more hate than what it truly deserves. So that's also a great one. And then, of course, with the incredible Adrian, we've got the Fuel Your Body and Mind. So a really good opportunity to get your educational information up to scratch. And again, just to give yourself a broader base of knowledge. I am, if you can see, still struggling to get these comments up. So please, if you are saying hello, don't quit. I am here. There I am. Got you. That being said as well, while we're waiting for people to swap in, I hope everybody is going to be joining us on Saturday. We have got the incredible workout with Coach Kate. It is the Heroic Woman workout. So don yourself a little super suit, get a wig on, get a cape on, get yourself involved. Chaps, if you want to get involved as well, you've got to be a heroic woman. So I want to see some Wonder Woman outfits. I want to see some Supergirl outfits. Let's get stuck in. Let's join the party. Let's get super involved. Outside of that, I hope everybody is here, ready to get stuck in. I've got quite a decent amount of information to share. I didn't want to delve into anything that I considered a little too obvious. So there are stuff like financial reasons, and we all know going to the gym costs a hell of a lot of money. I've seen a lot of people that go into the gym, grab a set of dumbbells, go into a studio, and then do their 45 minutes and go home. This obviously costs you an incredible amount of money. You don't really get anything back in terms of functionality. You leave with a few endorphins, and then that's you. So there are the obvious financial things. There's time strain commitments. It's nice to be able to just roll out of bed, have your own equipment in your space, work with that. Now, when I hear people say I don't have any time for exercise, this is often due to the fact that we've got to make half an hour to get ourselves to the gym. We need to get our workout. We need to have a shower afterwards, and then we make ourselves off to work. So it's a 2-hour chunk of the day sort of getting stuck in. So these are obvious hurdles in the way that really make having equipment at your house a lot more convenient. But I wanted to particularly address a couple of physiological differences, the really internal benefits that you can get from having your own equipment. It might not be really obvious to a lot of people, so I'll throw some really decent information your way. For those who have just joined, please do get stuck in. Please do leave comments. I'm battling to look at both screens here, so bear with me. Again, comments are still taking some time to get up. Cheryl, there we go. I could get them. Oh, Natalie, thanks everybody for getting stuck in. Leslie, always nice to see you. Renee, hello. Leslie again. Karen, thank you everybody for joining. I hope I can provide you with an awesome amount of information. That being said, let's get into the nitty gritty. Sorry, you can see my tripod isn't exactly the most stable, so bear with me as I wiggle side to side here. One of the things I wanted to address more specifically, because Jeff does have a larger population of women in our ranks, there is one of the more fundamental differences right down deep inside the body. One of the best changes are, of course, to bone density. bone density, as with metabolism, once we hit a certain age, 30, 35 years old, these changes start to take place and our bones start getting a little bit weaker, they get a little bit softer, they get more brittle, and these obviously have an effect. With women as well, leading 70% of osteoporosis statistics, it is a massive area of concern and something that really should be addressed. Bones, much like muscles when you're doing strength workout, much like the cardiovascular system when you're doing aerobic workout, it needs to be pushed, it needs to be tested, it needs to be challenged. Your bones are no different. We need to put them under constant stresses, we need to put them under constant testing, and from that, like every other aspect of our body, they grow in strength. They stay stronger for longer, obviously don't get brittle, it lessens your chances of getting osteoporosis later in life. So a genuinely fundamental reason right down at the core of us, the deep inside skeletal base that we have, is one of the biggest reasons why having a bit of equipment is so beneficial. I'll go into exactly what equipment later on, so please don't get confused if I just keep saying equipment. I don't want to just give you knowledge and you think, yeah, I've got all the knowledge, and then not know what to do with it. The second, and again more fundamental thing, is it's a metabolic change and obviously an increase in fat loss. When we introduce resistance to the body in any format, particularly muscularly, this increases our muscle mass. The resistance increases our muscle mass, and as a result increases the muscle's growth and increases what we call our BMR. The BMR is not to be mistaken with a BMI, which is an absolute load of rubbish. I think we all know. Your BMR is your basal metabolic rate. So this is effectively what I've described to my clients. It is our existence calories. We need a certain number of calories just to survive. To sleep, whether it's gardening, whether it's walking around, no matter what it is, we burn calories. Sitting on a couch watching TV burns calories. It ranges from about 1,200 calories a day right through to about 2,000, depending on your metabolic rate. It can be as crazy as 3,000 calories a day. So when we increase our muscle mass, we increase our basal metabolic rate as well. So the bigger our muscles are, the more calories they're going to be burning, the more calories they need as well. So they will burn as a result. So that's one of the greater changes as well. And let's be honest, in an off day when we're not really working out, you can still burn more calories by having a greater sense of that BMR. So what a treat. Like I say, just be sitting and burning more calories. Even on rest days, we've got higher ceilings for burning. So what an absolute treat. The second thing I wanted to address is what we describe as a thermogenic effect. I think a lot of people might have heard that as a bit of a marketing gimmick from products such as Fedra cuts, things like that, Lipo cuts. The thermogenic effect is basically the body's ability to continue burning calories even after we've stopped exercising. So when we do cardio-based or aerobic-based exercises, we find sometimes that the watch has massive number of calories. You really get yourself an absolute mega burn. And when we do strength training sessions, we have a much lower number of calories. The session felt a little bit slower. But what we developed from extra strength is a greater thermogenic effect. So we're burning even though we've stopped. The cardio session, we do 45 minutes, we burn 200-300 calories. It's amazing. But the minute we stop doing that cardio, the workout stops, the body stops, it goes into recovery and repair mode. If we increase, adding a little bit of equipment, we increase the resistance, then we do a little bit more strength work, we increase that thermogenic effect. So while you are finished with your session, you're now making breakfast, your body is continuously still getting stuck in. So that's another added benefit of increasing adding at least a little bit of equipment to your workout. It changes one of the sort of defining processes in the body. It's a huge change along that. Also, with regards to the BMR, sorry, I should have said, that's actually the largest percent of calorific burn that we get through the day. So say just existing is 1,500 calories, you add your session of 200-300 calories, that 1,500 is a mega one. So having the ability to burn more just being static and existing is obviously, like I say, a real treat. Then diving into a couple of little more basic things, a little bit more targeted reasons as to why it's good. The ability to target particular areas is obviously a massive, massive benefit to having equipment. I can sit and do this with my arm 1,000 times. It's not going to change the shape of my bicep. And there aren't really any bodyweight exercises out there that I could do for my bicep. You could do a couple of chin-ups, but if I don't have the back strength, that's not going to work. So adding in a dumbbell to the hand and that movement, or a kettlebell or a can, that increases the resistance in my bicep and ultimately has me working directly on that muscle itself. That also to be said with equipment pieces like a foam roller. When we're looking to activate, to get some deep tissue myofascial release, we like to be able to acutely target one position. And having something like a foam roller is an important piece of equipment for that. A hockey ball or a cricket ball to put behind the shoulder, and you lean into a wall and you get a nice big rub. That's also a nice deep tissue targeted way of getting stuck in, as opposed to just trying to stretch it out across. Those are lazy ways that do a generic kind of release. So having a piece of equipment ultimately helps us target things really, really specifically. When it comes down to just timed exercises, we pretty much have a ceiling on exercises we can do when it comes to body weight. You want to take squats, for example. If we tell you to do 45 seconds of squats, without sacrificing form, there are so many squats that we'll be able to do. Say 40, 45, that's probably the ceiling. You can't do any more than that. So you're going to plateau in that strength value. You're not going to be able to gain any more from it because you're at your limit. Taking something now like a kettlebell, holding it, continually doing your squats now adds an element of resistance. You're initially not going to be able to do your 40, and then you'll build back up to your 40, and then you increase the weight again. Drop down to 30 weighted ones, build back up to 40, and that's how you keep constantly progressing. So you can target specific areas and specific exercises by just utilizing a little bit of equipment. Sorry guys, also throw a few questions if there's anything in particular you'd like me to address. I'll happily just in between topics keep looking over at the screen and keep getting stuck in. I hope I'm not jumping around as much as my Facebook screen is. I apologize if that is the case. But yeah, Michelle, get a foam roller for those shoulders of yours. You can get some nice deep tissue release, give yourself a bit of recovery from the pain. Another awesome thing that equipment brings into it is creating an easier option for us. It gives us a better capacity for exercise. So without you even knowing it, it gives you a much greater variety of exercises, and especially being much more easier states of exercise. If this information obviously isn't directly in your head, get a coach. They're smart buggers. They can help you out. But ultimately, for an example, a push-up. You'll jump onto your program. It'll say, do a push-up day one. You think that's easy enough. I've seen 100 of them. Put your hands on the ground, and it's can't even get your chest off the floor. You now see that on your program again tomorrow. It's going to create a level of despondency because you don't think you can do any of this. Switch out if you've got a little bit of equipment now. You can find a bench behind you. You get some dumbbells in your hand and you lay flat on your back doing a couple of presses. Bench press, as it's called. This then targets the pec in particular. Going back to the previously noted point, you target the muscle, you introduce strength directly to that muscle, and ultimately leading to you being able to do the push-up more effectively. So having that option to just alter a few things creates a little bit more ease to be able to get to some of the more advanced exercises. They really do give us a wide variety of things. And as I say, if you're just not sure of stuff, get a coach. That's the easiest way. A little bit of whip cracking. That also then ties into how we manage our progress. You can effectively track your progress so much more conveniently by having a little bit of equipment. We all know what watches do and how they measure for us, how they track when we're running. Something as insignificant as a dumbbell and a little number written on the side that tells you how strong you are getting, because last month it was a 2, this month it's a 4, next month it's a 6. You are effectively tracking progress without needing to write anything, commit anything to memory. These things exist for us. So in that regard, having a little bit of equipment is, again, it's an absolutely massive thing. Let's dive into a quick comment here before I'm just waffling through everything. You can see why my clients get a bit annoyed by my voice notes. It's always blah, 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 blah. So we'll dive in here. Hello, Cindy. Welcome for joining us. Vanessa, as you say, over 60. shoulder pain, not doing exercises and wrists, or we'll get into a little bit of equipment later on and what we can use to try and facilitate some easier movements. Hi, Daleen, welcome. Better late than never. Nice to see the face. Missed a little bit of information, so watch it back. Just progressing on with our little chat. I also want you to throw some questions, guys. I want to get stuck in. I want to be able to ask some things. If you've got pieces of equipment you're not really sure about, throw them that way. I'll address them at the end. I'll go through a few pieces for us, and we can see effectively how they can all add value to the life. But continuing on, let me have a quick sip of water, excuse me. One of the second last thing I wanted to address is improvements in posture and flexibility, which leads to a little bit of a postural improvement. So I personally have the flexibility of a rhino. I can't really even touch my kneecaps if I bend over. So yoga seems to me like not to be disrespectful, it seems like a waste of time because I won't be able to get into those positions. But having something like a Theraband where I can lay on my back, I can throw a Theraband over my toes because I've got dreams of reaching them, and then use that to draw my leg down, increases then my flexibility. It increases the ability for me to get into better postural positions for exercises that are prescribed for me. That also, when you're doing things like squats, you can counterbalance weights, holding kettlebells again, it'll pull you forward a little bit. You, using your back, have to counterbalance, which will stand you up a little bit greater, improving that posture a little bit more. So, again, one of the more fundamental things. Sometimes people don't even realize, but weight pulls us into correct technique. When I've been with clients in the physical aspect and I've tried to teach a deadlift, for an example, I've started them off with decent weight because to lift properly, we have to be in proper technique. So it provides us those right times of angles and levers to be able to get the correct posture. So that's a massive one. And then the last sort of internal thing I wanted to address was for anybody struggling in particular with type 2 diabetes. Obviously, strength-based exercise, it utilizes a lot of glucose in the body, burning our sugar, helping regulate our sugar, and it regulates our insulin as well, at least. So having a bit of strength-based equipment to utilize in conjunction with your exercise obviously improves the state of our sugar control in the body. So those are just a couple. There's obviously a ton of different reasons. I didn't want to overload with information. I encourage everybody to have a little bit of a look. And as I said in the beginning, it's not just the basic, saves you time, saves you money, it's the investment, whatever the case. There are fundamental principles and processes that happen within the body that change once you introduce equipment in general. So I hope that with regards to that aspect at least is informative. Let's get stuck into a couple of comments here. Bands versus weights. Calm down, Vanessa. We'll get to all of this. Now that I've given you all the information with what you can do with the different exercises, I want to go over just a couple of pieces of equipment and the exercises that they can affect and how you can basically build yourself a small little gymmy key in your lounge and then create the confidence as well to create a little bit more motivation going forward. So, as mentioned there, Therabands, resistance bands, absolutely incredible pieces of equipment to have because they allow free range of motion with a little bit of base resistance. So Therabands are typically associated with more of your yoga, more of your Pilates type training because they have a lot less resistance. They allow more freedom, more range of motion, while your resistance bands are typically more of those thick rubber buggers. Those you have to pull with strength movements. You have to then use adequate technique. There's obviously a greater resistance, so they're used more for strength training. So those are awesome. Obviously something that everybody is aware of, dumbbells. These guys are the dons. They've been around forever for a particular reason. They are the most effective piece of equipment. You can use them in absolutely any environment. They add to strength training, they add to cardio training, they can add to any type of core training you do. They're boxing, you do them dumbbells in hand to increase the shoulder strength and endurance. It's beyond measure. You can lunge with them, you can shoulder with them, you can add them into existing workouts. We all know what dumbbells are. Wanted to talk also about a little technology. We all know we have watches, we move around with them. We know how well they do at tracking our heart rates. We can then use this. I encourage everybody as well to have a little logbook. It's such value. If that's a piece of equipment, I think everybody could have pen and paper or a tablet or something on your phone. There's loads of apps out there that you can track stuff. Keep an average of yourself every day that you're going through something. Write down, this was my heart rate, and then write down reasons. I didn't eat too much last night, felt a bit flat, heart rate was high, okay, I had to work. body was tired. Next day felt really good, heart rate was a little bit lower, there's my average, and you start building trends based on your own individual habits. So watches, bands around the chest, anything that can track heart rates, distance, that type of thing, definitely an incredible piece to have, helps make the journey that much more convenient. We go down to mats. There's obviously varying different types. We get aerobic mats, you get yoga mats, and then we get something which I absolutely love to utilize, is called an Airex mat. It's a thick piece of almost like wetsuit material, and it creates such an incredible amount of stability however you use it. If you want to do push-ups on it, your hands are going, increasing ligament and tendon strength in the wrists. If you stand on it, one-footed, you'll do a little ice skating. It increases the ligaments and tendon strength in the knees. It increases a bit of core strength and balance. So things like that are also incredibly awesome to have. We all also know kettlebells, bit of a bad rap because they are momentum-based exercise, and if your technique's not correct, it's very easy to injure yourself. But they can also be used in static planks. Holding it steady while you squat adds a little extra value. Utilizing them for bicep curls, for shoulder workout. These things are... Sorry, I keep getting distracted by comments. These things are obviously awesome to have. So... foam rollers, Coach Kath, I know she's a massive advocate of the foam roller. Again, as I mentioned previously, it's that myofascial release. It mimics a deep tissue massage. Cricket balls, hockey balls. Put a cricket ball on the floor, lay your leg across it with your calf on it, and just roll. It'll be agony that you've never been able to describe, but it gets in there, it releases those fascia, it shifts that lactic acid around. It just, the benefits are sort of indescribable. And then the last most important thing is a ball of any nature, whether it be an exercise ball to sit on while you do your arm exercises, increasing that core strength and balance. It can be a slam ball, which is not to be mistaken with a medicine ball, because if you slam a medicine ball, it's going to bite back. Slam balls don't bounce. They're really soft. They're gel-filled. They're just heavy. So when you do things like pillow slams, increasing the resistance there with a slam ball, obviously you get 5, 10, 15, 20 kgs. They fatigue the body greater. Those things are great. Medicine balls, light, very stiff, very bouncy, nice to utilize for technique and posture correction. Those things are also really good. And I think that's just basically, I mean, if you get stuck into any one of those, 2 or 3 as a combination, those are absolutely stellar pieces of equipment to start building yourself a little bit of a base at home. You don't have to get anything ridiculously fancy. All of these things can typically be found at a Sportsman's, at a Mr. Price. They are online in various different places. Take a Lot will have a couple of things. So they are also all reasonably affordable. So it's nice to be able to invest a little bit instead of paying a gym $500 a month and never getting anything out of it. Put $500 into a Sportsman's. Get your own value. It exists with you forever. Once you've got a couple of nice pieces, workouts are free for the rest of your life. So these are things to really consider. Let's dive into a couple of the comments. See, I know there were a few comments about the mat. It's called an Airex mat, A-E-R-E-X. You can find them, again, as I mentioned, Take a Lot, Sportsman's Warehouse. They're a little bit more of a rehab-based piece of equipment, so they are quite expensive, but you do get Mr. Price versions, if you will, that are not as specifically for rehab that you can utilize at home. They'll definitely work for you. Yes, the name. Use a soft ball between your legs for squats to help with the knees. Absolutely beautiful. Those also little Pilates inflatable. They remind me of the soccer balls we used to have in school. Those things are really great for keeping distance between knees. So laying flat on your back, if you're trying to do hip bridges where the knees are bent 90 degrees and you've got to raise your hips up, squeeze the glutes, keeping that between the knees engages the inner thighs and adds an extra element to the exercise. So now doing the one thing for glutes, squeezing a ball between the knees, adds in an extra little bit of work for the inner thighs. So 2 birds, 1 stone kind of attitude. I know there was a question regarding, sorry, I've got to scroll through a few. Bands versus weights. Bands in general, without being disrespectful, can be a little bit more of a beginner element. They help guide so that we get our range of motion correct and our planes correct, so they keep us with a little bit more resistance, nice and straight up. If you've got, for example, a dumbbell in your hand, when you're moving up and you don't have the right kind of shoulder cuff strength, you've got instability, so you're going up, but especially at the top or at the base of movements, if you move here at the top, there goes my shoulder, or I pinch a nerve in it, something of that nature. So you've got to have your secondary stabilizing muscles really strong before you get stuck into weights. Otherwise, just to be very, very cautious when it comes to your technique, because we want to be careful about what I've mentioned, the twisting and pinching kinds of things. But obviously, your weights provide a greater ceiling when it comes to resistance, so you do not want to avoid them. There's an argument in the gym about a Smith machine versus a squat rack. People say if you just do strength on a Smith machine where the bars support you the whole way down, you're going to then step out into a normal squat and you're going to wobble your way down because you haven't trained your stabilizers. So the principle is effectively the same there. You'll get you'll get a greater sense of work to the stabilizers with a band initially than you would with a weight, with much less risk of injury, which is the most important thing. Running through a couple here. Exercise ball when doing pulse squats. Absolutely. Squats in general, if you've got a weak lower back, anything pretty much at 90 degrees deactivates the muscle. So if you're sitting down 90 degrees, you deactivate two really small muscles in the lower back. They're called the rectae spinae. They support a hell of a lot of weight and they fatigue really easily. So if our day spent seated, whenever we have to do an exercise that needs a little bit of counterbalance, especially from the lower back, it's going to cause some serious pain. You take a ball, you stuff it in the middle of the back, you lean up against the wall, and then you just drop your bum to the floor, push back up in that same squat fashion, but now you've got the ball supporting the lower back, providing absolutely awesome support. So very well done, Jolene. That's what I like to hear. But other than that, I think I've run through all of the comments. Team, thank you absolutely for all of the time that you've given me. As I've mentioned previously, go through the comments, get a little bit of a look into the courses that we spoke about that were launched. There are some incredible ones with some really, really phenomenal coaches. We've also got the epic aerobic women's workout on Saturday, so don't forget to get stuck into that. Weights for seniors. Should we stay on low weights or keep increasing? This depends ultimately on your goal. If you are trying to get big and massive, you are going to have to increase your weight. But if you're looking just to get strong, then you can stay on the weights as you need them. There are ways to alter exercises as well through slower movements. If you're holding, it'll fatigue, it'll use more oxygen and fatigue the muscle a little bit quicker. So 45 of these are not feeling anything, change it to 20 of these, and you'll get a massive sort of response out of that as well. So that definitely adds a little element of value. But no, it's also personal specific. I think if you've got no injuries and you've got decent range of motion, get stuck into use weights, because as mentioned, it's got an impact on your bone density. We need the bones to be put under stress a little bit of time. So it does have its place in the world, just needs to be sort of looked over. I don't want to just scream blanket advice for everybody. So if you want specifics, get a coach, as spoken before. But otherwise, we are running out of time. I don't want to take you over half an hour. Promises are promises. So everybody, as I said, thank you so much for joining me. This has been information I absolutely adored sharing. I love the educational aspects of this. So for everybody that's taken the interest and has joined me for this, thank you all very, very much. And again, if you ever need any advice as coaches, all of our inboxes are open. Don't hesitate to slide into the DMs, pop your queries, get stuck in with chatting. But outside of that, everybody have yourself an absolutely stellar Thursday. Let's get stuck into Friday, finish off all of our goals properly, and move ourselves into the weekend. Have yourself an absolutely awesome day.